So let's talk about the change that we want and how to go about getting it. So when we want to change something in ourselves or in our circumstances, we often take the hardest route to create that change. And often the results prove to be less than satisfying, especially for the effort that we put in. Do you feel me on that? Because when we approach change, we first tend to judge ourselves harshly. And then we condemn and we shame ourselves for our current reality. Next, out of fear and out of desperation, we tend to punish ourselves into adhering to a rigid, strict plan that feels completely overwhelming and very hard. We allow our inner persecutor in the driver's seat, demanding what we should do and have to do. And then the whip cracks and we react. And full speed ahead in the extreme we go. So we work really hard and we relish in the pain and the sacrifice and the self-effort. The harder the work, the greater self-effort, the more hustle, the better results, right? Well, sometimes, but never without a cost. Overwhelm, frustration, exhaustion, discouragement, stress, self-sabotage, self-injury, illness, and burnout. The list goes on and on and on about the results of that. We stay stuck in the vicious cycle of judgment and shame and fear and desperation and punishment and disillusion. And through it all, we miss the experience and the freedom and the enjoyment of the transformation that we desperately want. Do you relate to that? I've lived that way for years, pushing myself harder and persecuting myself even more harshly anytime I wanted something in or around me to change, in my circumstances or internally, until I realized that was an ineffective and miserable path to the results that I really wanted. So I finally surrendered and learned a better way and a more aligned, easeful, and enjoyable way to get the transformation that I want. And I refer to my new process as the 4 C's of change. And the first one is to connect to your heart. Connection to our heart enables us to remember who we are, what our value is, and what matters most to us. And then we can connect to our deeper why, which is a much more effective motivator for change than judgment or persecution. Then our passion can fuel our change instead of being driven to achieve results. We can also connect authentically and vulnerably to others and ask for the help that we need and the support that we want. And because we were not made to change alone. And it's in that space that we can ask, who am I as the highest version of me? And what matters most to me? And what do I really want and need? How would it look and feel if I was living in alignment with that version of me? The second C for change is we have self-compassion. Compassion and self-love. Because love is the greatest change agent there is. And God created it that way. When we shift into self-compassion and self-love, we can ask ourselves this question. If I couldn't hear the voice of fear, condemnation, and persecution, and I could hear the voice of love, what would love want me to know about experiencing the change that I really want? And if I could trust my instincts, what would shift within me? How could I approach the change that I want in the most loving, easeful, and enjoyable way? Because that's the way God created it. Number 3, clarification. Once we shift into love as the motivator and the change agent, then we can clarify exactly what feels misaligned with the best version of ourselves and with what matters most to us. And we can ask, what would it look like and feel like if I felt more aligned with the best version of me? What would change inside of me and what would change in my circumstances? And clarity will come about when we begin to shift our thoughts, our behaviors, our choices, our decisions to create the change that we want. And we can access our inner wisdom to know how to go about changing those in the most loving and most effective way. Number 4, creation. Finally, we can create and implement an effective plan with aligned action steps that feels easeful, enjoyable, and sustainable to elicit the change we want. We can also remember to focus on the process instead of the outcome and love ourselves consistently throughout the change process, trusting that the small, aligned action steps over time consistently add up to big results. This process leaves the struggle, it leaves the striving, the stress, and the self-sacrifice behind. It leaves the hard and the hustle behind. Our inner persecutor gets to rest and retire because we no longer need them. And we get to experience the freedom and the enjoyment of what we want most by aligning with who we really are and the higher reality that we were created for. So if you're tired of the inner persecutor driving your bus and you're exhausted from trying to make the change that you want to happen with less than satisfying results, then I'd love to teach you a new way. My new Breakthrough to Arise coaching program is a compilation of over 3 decades of godly wisdom and professional expertise that will completely transform you and every area of your life in ways that you thought were not possible. And I'd love for you to join me on this journey. It's time to live and lead from your optimized self in the freedom and the fullness that you were created for. And that life starts here and now. Join me in this powerful, comprehensive, and transformational coaching program. That's the best of counseling, the best of coaching, and the best of spiritual discipleship that you can have, and includes both one-on-one and coaching group support and community. The powerful transformation that you want is possible, and the experience can be much more easeful and enjoyable, and all it takes is a self-love revolution. If you're ready for that, click that button below and let's schedule some time to discuss how you're feeling stuck in the stress, the struggle, the surviving, and the striving behaviors and patterns, and how I can help you break through to the changes that you want and you need so that you can live the life that you were created for in every area.